Good day, ladies and gentlemen, Bashnash over here, and in this video I'll be showing you the top 10 countries that have fought against COVID-19. Or in another word, coronavirus! Now before starting this video, I would like to tell you that each and every number and information given in this video was based on a research that I made sure I do it by my own to get the best quality results and to be exact. Stay with me until the end of this video to get to know the top 10 unexpected countries actually that fought against COVID-19. Number 1 was never expected. Now if you still don't know me and you still didn't subscribe to my channel, I would like to tell you that I do a lot of nice experiences and fun activities. So please do consider subscribing. What are we waiting for? Let's go to our video. The rankings I have made were based on 8 major things, which are 1. Death rate. Low death rate means a high recovery rate, which means that the health system in that country is perfect. 2. The current cases. There are a lot of countries that have reached to 0 cases currently, and we are going to see them later in this video. 3. Cases rate. The relation and how big were the cases related to the population of that country. Number 4. How rich is that country? This is really important. Number 5. When did it start in that country? How long did they take to solve it? Number 6. Is that country a tourist destination? Number 7. How did this happen and did it spread quickly? And finally, number 8. What did the government do and what rules did they take? And now, number 10 is New Zealand. Now New Zealand has 1.91 death rate and 0.02 cases rate, and they have reached to 0 cases right now. What makes New Zealand number 10 actually is that it's a really remote island whereby they're super far than each and every place. Their death rate were high and they're also a developed country. Number 9 is Vietnam. Now Vietnam is a really close country to China. If we check the maps, they literally have borders. Now Vietnam had a cases rate of 0.000001, and I don't think that you believe me, but they had 0 deaths and their current cases are 0. But what makes Vietnam far away from the top 5 is that Vietnam started having cases since January 2020, which is kind of far back, and that's why I think they need to be done and settled with the virus right now. Number 8 is mainland China. Yes, China. What is China doing here?
And maybe that's a question you should ask China.
Now, the Chinese government didn't even care about people and governments pointing fingers on them that they were the reason after COVID-19. In fact, they were working hard to eliminate that virus from their country. China once had 19,000 cases in 24 hours. That was super hard. It was a nightmare. It hit them first. They didn't know what to do, but they have solved it. Now China had 0.01 cases rate and their death rate is around 5.57, which is really high. Their current cases are around 10 to 30. Now what keeps China far away from the top 5 is that China had a really high death rate, and also it started in December. So if they didn't solve it, I don't know who would. Number 7 is Switzerland. Yes, Switzerland. The country had borders with Milan, one of the dangerous cities where back then, and it was literally locked down through the increased cases and increased number of cases of COVID-19 in that region. Now Switzerland have had cases rate about 0.36 and their death rate was around 5.39, which is really high too. And their cases right now are between 2 to 30. Now what kept Switzerland out of the top 5 was that they really had a high cases rate and also a death rate. Number 6 is Malaysia. Malaysia is an amazing tourist destination that gets tourists from all around the world. It has a huge number of people in its capital city, Kuala Lumpur. It has a huge number of foreigners that are students and expats that are working in there. Now Malaysia didn't let this affect it, but it took care of everyone. Now the cases rate in Malaysia were 0.03 and the death rate was 1.42. Their current cases are around 7 and 30. Let's forget about the 277 cases that were a few days ago. Now Malaysia were too close to the top 5, but the current cases are still not less than 10. Now we have reached to the top 5, and I'm gonna be giving you a brief story about each and every country and how they fought against COVID-19. Number 5 is Taiwan. Now Taiwan had a similar number of cases rate to Vietnam, which is 0.000001, and their death rate were 1.58. The current cases in Taiwan are between 0 and 2. Now the story behind the low number of cases in Taiwan is because of their well-prepared government. And that's because they have amazing disease control centers that were studying the coronavirus before it hit them. They were contacting the Chinese government to gather as much as possible information about the coronavirus. Now, believe it or not, the Taiwanese government declared to WHO that COVID-19 is human-to-human transmission, whereby the WHO actually declared that it's not. Suddenly, after a duration of time, WHO got to realize and they declared that it's really a human-to-human transmission. Other than that, the culture in Taiwan of wearing a mask for sick people, Taiwan declared that wearing a mask is mandatory over there. But the WHO said it was not important. But also, after a duration of time, WHO declared that wearing a mask is a must. Now what keeps Taiwan away from number 1 in this list is that they were really prepared, as they have experienced fighting with SARS, which is a virus and a disease that have hit the region earlier in 2003. Number 4 is Jordan. Now Jordan is a small kingdom in the Middle East that have shown an amazing performance in the region, as they still didn't have more than 1,000 cases. Jordan have maintained a cases rate of 0.01 and their death rate was 0.94. Believe me or not, they only had 9 deaths. And their current cases is literally 0. How did Jordan do it? Let me tell you. Now Jordan have declared a state of war, literally, on COVID-19. Army were going in the streets. No one were allowed to go down. And they've literally closed the borders with each and every other country. And they canceled all flights going to Jordan. But the ones that were already in the sky, they had the shock of their life when they reached. The moment they reached, they were taken directly to a mandatory quarantine. But guess what? It was all in 5-star hotels, and it was all paid by the government. Amazing, isn't it? Number 3 on my list is Iceland. Iceland had a cases rate of 0.51 and a death rate of 0.55. Their current cases are between 0 and 1. Now let me tell you a fact about Iceland. Other than it's green and Greenland is iced, no. Now Iceland's population is only 364,000 people, which is literally less than a million. It's even less than 500,000. Do you believe that? Now when you tell me that 1,000 of those were infected, that's really dangerous. Now number 2 is Croatia. Croatia have had a 0.06 cases rate and a death rate was really high. It was 4.75. But their cases are now between 0 and 4. Now the best thing in Croatia was their prime minister. He's literally a hard worker. I remember once he came and he said, "We have no hardships in Croatia." I also remember the Croatian army creating field hospitals. Let's not forget that Croatian capital city Zagreb was hit by the hardest earthquake since 140 years, earlier this year in March. But what? With that prime minister, everything was successfully done and Croatia now is stronger than ever. Here we came to the last country, which is the top one, and it's number 1 country on my list, which was 100% unexpected. It is Luxembourg. If you don't know about Luxembourg or where it's located, Luxembourg is a European country that is surrounded by Belgium, France, and Germany. Now, no matter how high the cases were in the surrounding countries, Luxembourg played it well because Luxembourg was surrounded by countries that have high cases. They've had a cases rate of 0.66 and a death rate of 2.71. But they have controlled it really fast and their cases right now are 0. Now, Luxembourg have a similar story to Iceland, as they have only 618,000 as a population And when you tell me that 4,000 of them were infected, that's really dangerous. Now, the Luxembourgish did all it could to stop COVID-19 from spreading really fast in the less economic losses ever. The Luxembourgish government started testing nationwide. They also stood with the private and public sectors both to start generating ideas to fight COVID-19. People in Luxembourg started working really hard with the government to fight COVID-19, as they were really educated about it. Here, Luxembourg did their best to stop COVID-19 and keep the economic wheel going. And here this country finished their battle against COVID-19. We have reached till the end of this video. If you like this video, please give me a like. If you think that you are in a country that have fought hard against COVID-19 and it was not on my list, please do comment it down below. Now, this research have took me a long time and a lot of effort, so please do consider subscribing and sharing this video to support me. Thanks a lot for watching my video. See you later.
It's caught in the crossfire.